After there were some lawsuits, the SPLC took down their slander of me because they were getting sued left and right. But Chris Matthews of MSNBC on his primetime program said that there's a rise of racist, right-wing teabaggers with groups like We Are Change. And I'm like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? So I made sure to doorstep and to confront Chris Matthews face-to-face. And I was like, hey, Chris, you called my independent news organization that strives to do independent reporting a right-wing racist teabagging group. Explain yourself. Why? This is slander. He's like, I never said that. I was like, yes, you did. He was like, no, I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, here, wait, let me show you the clip. I literally pulled up the clip, and as he's watching it, he's like, oh crap. And I'm like, answer right now, because you slandered, you lied about me to the entire world. Answer to it right now. He had no answer. He was running away, scurrying away. And I'm like, these people have no spines. They can't back up what they say. You can see the video right now. We Are Change, Chris,
Matthews?
Chris Matthews.
Yeah.
I was confusing him with Chris Martinson. Chris,
No.
But yeah. MSNBC, We Are Change.
He sounds a lot like my bosses. Every time I would confront them about something they said, they'd be like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm like, well, I recorded you. In fact, early on when they really started going after me, it just blindsided. I was so confused. I've had 3 years of great relationships with my bosses. Made no sense. So I did start recording to protect myself, but I actually emailed them sound bites of themselves to prove to them that I was recording them and that they were lying. Oh, you're saying you didn't say this? Here's your recording that you said that. And here's the thing, they continued to go after me even after I did that. But I have a funny story of how I first heard about you too. It wasn't until after this started happening that I first heard about you, because I was zoned into the corporate media life. I don't do alternative media like you guys, right? But so it was like 2 weeks after I had covered Dr. Verone's hydroxychloroquine, and they came after me like none other. And I went to climb a mountain. Because my hobby is producing these songs that I write, because songs come to me through inspiration. And so I was like, let me just do something with these. So last year I just started doing something with the music that I wrote. Anyway, I had gone to Colorado. I had written a song like with the metaphor of mountains in it. So I wanted to shoot a music video in the mountains. Like, this is my hobby. Let's go all out. Let's film a music video too. So I'm climbing the mountain with my cameraman. And I was telling him about this insanity that I'm dealing with at Fox, and how I'm having to record them to protect myself. And he was like, he's like, you should just get out of there as soon as possible and be just like Tim Pool. Just do the Tim Pool thing. And I was like, who's that? And so then he told me about your YouTube. And then I saw this huge cult following you have. And I was like, wow. And then I started watching you, and I was like, wow, he does great YouTube shows. Like, this is way more informative than our newscasts.
Well, now I'm trying to get more and more journalists to do original reporting. And so we just had a conversation with one guy who's going to do a lot of original policy and culture stuff, and it's going to be fantastic. Because I can't count on these other outlets to do it. You know, it's funny how we read a lot of these outlets and we assume the news is true if it makes sense, right? CNN can put out a story. Right? They had a story today. China sends 28 warplanes to invade Taiwan. China sent 28 warplanes to invade Taiwanese airspace, crossing over this like demarcation line or something. And I just assume it's true, even though I know CNN lies all the time. I mean, it's foreign policy. Why wouldn't it be true? It's the Gell-Mann amnesia effect. The only problem is it's something else. It's Gell-Mann and cognitive dissonance. Because I can come out all day and night and say CNN lies left and right. They're full of garbage. And then when I see a news story about foreign policy, I can only assume it's true. I'm like, are they lying about this now? Well, you know what? Probably, but what am I supposed to do? That's all I can do. It's
incredible when you really think like how much of the news I'm seeing is even factual. And I think a lot of it is not the journalists being, I mean, a lot of journalists, like I said, I think it's a combination of lazy, overworked, understaffed, and just journalists who don't want to seriously dig in. I think journalists are very easily manipulated by their sources. And I think some of these fake news stories we're getting are from aggressive sources who know how to manipulate the reporter.
Have you ever read the book Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday?
No, I haven't.
That guy's a genius. You should definitely check out that book. he talks about how easy it was to manipulate the media. One of my favorite stories from this guy, Ryan Holiday, check him out. He's awesome. He's got a podcast. What is it, The Daily Stoic?
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Stoked, dude. I love it.
He was promoting this guy, Tucker Max. That's his name, right? Tucker Max?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, was that his name, Luke?
I don't know. I'm looking.
Yes. All right, we're getting a yes from the other camera guy. So he was promoting this guy, and so he came up with a really good idea. They bought a billboard, and I could be getting the story wrong. It's been a little while, but the story is basically this.
Yeah, Tucker Max.
They put up a billboard, and then they personally vandalized the billboard. Then the next day, he calls the radio station and he goes, I'm driving down the street and I see this billboard. It's all vandalized. Apparently this Tucker Max guy's like a bigot and a misogynist. So then the local media was like, oh, what happened? Somebody vandalized. So the media got on it, reported this story, giving free press to Tucker Max. And then I guess they organized the protest against themselves so that they could generate press for his book or movie or whatever. And it worked.
Wow.
It is so incredibly easy to manipulate the press. And I think that's one of the big problems. When the media is decaying, struggling to make money as the landscape changes, and they're easily manipulated by activist groups, it just becomes an activist apparatus. That's what it is. Either it's going to sell, more waffles or whatever from the Eggo Corporation or whatever company is trying to sell. So they got to make the most punchy confirmation bias news, or the activists have taken over, like at the New York Times. We saw Barry Weiss quit because she's like, people in the New York Times are like nervous and it's being taken over by this this cult mentality and stuff. So now what do we get? Well, when you read the news, you're probably just reading ideological garbage, right, especially when it comes to domestic stuff.
That's what it's been like for millennia. Like I think about Julius Caesar, he'd go to battle and then he'd write the history report about what the battle was about. He'd write about who the enemies were, if he even wrote about them at all. And I mean, we didn't even have what's called a press until they invented the printing press, which is like 500-year-old technology, the idea of a press. And then even in the last 80 or 100 years have we had you be allowed to speak out against your government like vocally with the American democracy before you just get killed or put in prison.
But it is different. History being written by the victors is not the same as a massive media apparatus writing things that serve a political goal in the end, right? If Caesar was going out telling everybody that he had already won the war before it started, or that, making up lies to guarantee them and manipulate the public, that's more akin. And I'm sure
they would do that
right,
stuff.
Exactly. You want to control the population. The difference is subtle, I suppose, but you make a good point. It's always about these powerful groups that want to manipulate poor people, keep knowledge away from them so they can't rise up, so they can't protect themselves. And so they're working basically as serfs, or I guess back in Rome, slaves for the empire.
I think it goes back to, conspiracy alert, the Bible, Lucifer, the light bringer, who gave the technology of light to the people.
I don't know that he did that.
Well, they call him the light bringer. So I'm trying to think, why would they call him the light bringer?
Well,
did he give electricity to people like Zeus had electricity, had that lightning bolt?
If you didn't read it, you probably shouldn't make assumptions about what the story is.
I'm all over the place, Tim.
Yeah. Well, if you look even at the history of the printing press, this was something that was pushed back by the establishment, by the powers that be, that didn't want the printing press because they didn't want people reading certain scriptures, certain documents, because it empowered them. And whenever we have new technology come, it gives us a small window, a small opportunity to actually talk to one another, to find out what the world is really like. And one of the most important powers you could have in this world is controlling the free flow of information. And then you could usually correlate in a society how free the press is to how free the people are. And if people are under a press that is tightly controlled by special interest, by intelligence agencies, by people like Udo Ufket, who was a prominent German journalist who openly talked about how the CIA was writing press releases that the mainstream media was just regurgitating. Whenever you have a tightly controlled mainstream media that just regurgitates the talking points of the special interest of the powers that be, you have a people that aren't free. And
you expect me to do what? Research the press release and actually write a news story about it? Okay, listen. I'm busy. I've got IKEA doing a delivery later today, so I want to go home early. Let me just copy and paste the press release from Joe Biden onto the website so I can leave already. Heaven forbid I have to actually fact check the man. That's how newsrooms operate basically.
Yeah,
these
because
days.
if one of the facts turns out to make Joe Biden look bad, that could cast accusations at you as a journalist.
That's right.
And that's why I'm putting out these recordings, especially the one that I just put out tonight, because I want to show why reporters self-censor themselves to protect themselves. They want to avoid going through exactly what I went through. A lot of reporters live in fear of losing their job or being hurt some way by their bosses.
Substack. Do you have a Substack yet?
No.
Maybe you do that. It's working out for Glenn Greenwald and Michael Tracy.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Taibbi,
Okay, someone was sending me something about that.
People can throw you a couple bucks and you just write stories, and then your users, you're supported by your readers who expect you to do a good job. And if you do a bad job, you lose their support. Now there's a problem there too, obviously. If you write a bunch of articles talking about how Trump is, God emperor, obviously you'll get Trump superfans who will sign up. And the moment you say he's not, many of those people will leave. So there's still a confirmation bias problem in memberships as well.
That's right.
That's what we saw with the ACLU. See, the ACLU defended the right to free speech of the Unite the Right people in Charlottesville, and they got attacked for it and panicked. They had gained so many new members donating monthly because they challenged Trump on his travel ban. So then when they defended Unite the Right, they started bleeding users like members like crazy who are like, oh, you're supporting bigots. So then the ACLU flipped. And now they're this weird organization that claims to protect free speech, but very much does not defend civil rights at all. We call it the Anti-Civil Liberties Union.
I love it.
Yeah, because they've certainly become a vile, disgusting organization that actually seeks to suppress rights and not support them. And the same is true for Free Press, my favorite organization, freepress.net. What do you think they're all about? Well, they had a big campaign to make sure Alex Jones was banned from the internet because, that's what a free press is all about, banning wrongthink.
Wow.
The modern era is a creepy time, but I'm glad that we can have these conversations at the very least for as long as we can have them because, we're constantly under threat of getting banned. A lot of people don't think they're like, oh, Tim says he's going to ban. It's never going to happen. It's like, dude, we've already got a warning on this channel. We're seeing what they're doing to Steven Crowder. We're seeing what they're doing to smaller channels. It just so happens that I'm a bit more milquetoast than many of those people, but it's only a matter of time. The narrative must be protected at all costs. What YouTube and many of these other big tech companies want is they want to homogenize perspective. They want to get rid of anything that falls outside of the narrative so they can easily control it. It's like Micah Brzezinski said, it's our job to control exactly what people think. She said it verbatim. Let's just pull it up again so no one can say I'm lying from Grabian. Our job is to control exactly what people think. Oh, she came out later and said, no, I meant not. Shut up, lady. We know what you think you are. We know what you think you're doing. We know what MSNBC is doing or CNN. They lie.
Yeah, and her father was a very prominent person that played a very key role in American politics, in American geopolitics. Zbigniew Brzezinski, that was Jimmy Carter's presidential advisor, a part of the Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg, Council on Foreign Relations, and really pulled a lot of strings. When you look at organizations like the Council on Foreign Relations, there's a reason why they allow so many journalists a part of their secretive club. There's a reason they have so many off-the-record meetings between people in high positions of power and the mainstream media, and they work kind of in tandem here. And that's why, we have to understand here, there's so much power, there's so much cause and effect by information, and when you could tightly control it, you could do so many amazing things, but you could also do so many awful things. And when you look at the history of the mainstream media, if there's an honest, good working YouTube moderator out there, which I doubt, but if there is, just please look at the record of the mainstream media and look how many times they were wrong and look how many times independent media has been right, calling things out. Small mom and pop operations have been calling things out correctly for so long. We finally have the opportunity to be heard, and that opportunity is closing down every single day with algorithms, deplatforming, demonetizations. There's so many things standing in the way, and that's why what you were doing with Timcast.com, what other people are doing, starting their own platform, starting their own services, and your guys' participation in it is absolutely crucial because you need to not only vote with your dollar, but vote with your attention, with your clicks, with your shares, and it means everything.
And I really think we're seeing that happen. I think that the ratings and the readers and everything is moving away from the establishment media to the alternative media. This is the era of the independent journalist.
I don't think we're the alternative media anymore. I think collectively we're getting more traffic, aren't we?
Exactly. That's what I said. So but they consider I think they would consider you alternative. But here's the thing.
Yeah, but that's
you
like
guys,
an old man saying, get off my lawn.
Exactly. But who cares what the establishment anyone thinks, because the viewers, the actual citizens, are gravitating to the truth seekers.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems that we have in society, people getting scared of what the establishment thinks. Who cares? Literally,
Exactly.
who cares?
Or having a hit piece on them,
so
which
what?
now is a badge of honor. Now I see the mainstream media trashing someone, I'm going to be like, okay, well, let me do a little bit of research and not believe them point blank, because there's usually an agenda to try to trash or bring someone down, or even just an egotistical push to bring someone down for the algorithm. So there's a lot of manipulation happening behind the scenes. Being aware of it, being conscious, being able to take a few moments to breathe and take a step back and look at the larger picture is something that more and more people need to do. And sadly, the mainstream media doesn't like that. They don't want you thinking. They don't want you conscious. They don't want you in a state that you're not in a constant fear state, that you're not in a constant stress state, that you're not in a constant consumer state, because bad consumers is bad for business, bad for advertisers, bad for the overall agenda.
It's so interesting. The harder they push for that they're getting the opposite of what they're trying for. It's freaking people out and causing them to think for themselves and seek out answers for themselves.
But there is a weird divide where some people, I think, know something's wrong, but they refuse to speak out because they're cowards, right?
100%. In the media, absolutely.
Yep. So, you know what, man? I'd love for the people who recognize what's happening to finally step up, speak out, be brave, and contact James O'Keefe.
100%.
And expose corruption.
And let me tell you, we've already heard from several insiders in newsrooms who are saying they're ready to kind of follow in my footsteps. So
there's going to be more exposés. Are you?
If these people follow through, and look, I'm going to be there for them. I know James is going to be there for them. Like whoever
I'll hire everybody.
Seriously, there's so many people who are ready to hire you and donate to you and support you if you want to break away from this media, which is really a cult, and cults worship something, and what they worship is the narrative. Break free, be a true journalist. It's really hard to be a true journalist in the corporations. In some beats, in some news beats, you can do great journalism. Like the crime beat, they would let me cover crime, no problem. Other beats, okay, now
I don't know about that so much anymore. I mean, there's this really funny story where they said that there's a lot of memes going around about Stop Asian Hate and the perpetrators being black men. And this report, I think it was from NBC News, said, but when we actually looked at all known suspects in the media, we found 75% were white. And therein lies the problem. Many outlets have straight up said they will not reveal the race of an individual if it would, produce a harmful stereotype or contribute to one. Yep. Mm-hmm. So you want to cover crime, don't be surprised if, there was this moment in Sweden where a guy committed a crime. And so the media outlet pixelated his face and then changed the tone behind the pixels because we want to avoid racist stereotypes. It's or recently it was the Austin.
There was a shooting in Texas, and the newspaper didn't want to describe the suspect that was at large that people were looking for, that shot up a nightclub. And then the newspaper refused to even to talk about who he was.
I had a coworker who did that in Minneapolis when I was with NBC. She covered a crime story. This guy is on the loose after committing a vicious crime. Typically, when we're doing that, at the end of the story, we say, hey, guys, please look out for this guy. Here's his full description. Call police if you see him. She refused to do that part of the story, helping catch this criminal because he was black, and she didn't want to. She didn't want to say a description like that. That's insane. She now works for CNN. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. CNN probably recruited her the moment they heard that she did that. They were like, that's the kind of... No, but I'm not kidding. They probably said someone who will just say what she's told to say without arguing, without needing to be bribed. I mean, look, you get a real journalist, and how much money you got to pay them to bend them? You get an ideologue, and you can be like, we're actually docking your pay because you're racist. Please go tell the world. And they'll say, okay. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.